Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Time for part 2 of my series on Dobyns rods. Today we're going to talk about spinnerbaits and chatterbaits and what rods I like to use for those. Spinnerbait, my light spinnerbaits, my shallow water, 3/8 ounce or less, half ounce or less. I like to throw on a 733C. Yeah, that's the exact same rod I use for a buzzbait. It has a good amount of tip to it. You all can see that. But if you notice, about right here, about that much of the rod is what loads up. The rest of it's all backbone. So I like it for a spinnerbait. Works pretty good up shallow for a spinnerbait. The 7.3 is small enough of a rod, short enough of a rod that I can still be pretty accurate when casting around targets, boat docks, bushes, things like that. So. That is on Revo SX, or it has a Revo SX on it with a 6.7-1. I did go up from the 6.4 to the 6.7-1 because it's the new Revo. I had to get it, right? But I do like the 6.7 for the retrieve shallow on a spinnerbait. If I need to spin it up, speed it up, or get it higher in the water column, I can bring the rod up, down. I can control the depth this way with my rod angle. On that, I believe I throw 15-pound test on my spinnerbait. No, I'm sorry, I throw 20-pound test on my spinnerbait. 20-pound fluorocarbon. Berkeley 100% professional grade fluorocarbon is what I throw on that. Now, for bigger, deeper spinnerbaits, my heavier spinnerbaits, this is an old rod. This is one of the original Champion XPs. You can't even read the stuff on the back anymore. I mean, this rod's been through the ringer. It's called A Ton of Fish. This is a 734. So what it is, I went up 1 in power. I probably should have said this in the first series. I don't know if I did or not. But the numbers on the back of your Dobyns rods, like the 733, that's a 7-foot, 3-inch rod, 3 power is what that is. And that has to do with, the amount of backbone you have, the type of action. Is it a moderate action, moderate heavy, a heavy, fast tip, medium fast action stuff? That's what that number has to do with. So the higher the number, the stiffer the rod. So I do a 734. I stick with the 7.3 because it just feels right for a spinnerbait with me when I'm throwing, either deep 1 ounce out on a ledge, or trying to slow roll around some brush piles or things like that. That's where I come into a 15-pound test on a Revo SX. And this one is the 6.4-1 on this, because I am trying to get a little bit deeper, so I want to go a little bit slower. Well, I said 7.34 for the bigger one. All right. And I have one of my favorite baits, and that is a chatterbait. Now I do throw that on a Revo STX. I don't know, I just like the STX with it. It feels right. The gear ratio feels correct, and I've had this one so long, I do not remember what the gear ratio is on this reel. That's terrible. But the rod is, and you're going to hear this a lot throughout my series, is the 735C. That is my favorite all-around rod for Dobyns. A 735C. 7.3 5-power rod. It is a frog, flipping, pitching, small swim bait rod, but it has the right kind of action to it for a chatterbait, for the way I like to throw a chatterbait. If you notice, it's got some tip, right? It's got some tip to it, but it's got enough backbone that I can drive that hook home and stick him and move him, get him where I want him to go. Let's say the 735. So if you're looking for an all-around rod from Dobyns, if you want to get into Dobyns rods, get a 735C. In my opinion, it is the best all-around rod that Dobyns makes. It can do anything. You can throw a Carolina rig on it, you can flip and pitch with it, you can frog with it, chatterbait, spinnerbait with it, top water with it. You can do everything you want with a 735C. It is by far the best rod Dobyns makes, in my opinion. Most versatile. Spinnerbaits, chatterbaits, and we'll go ahead, we'll add one more into this group because it's basically the same rod, a 733C, which is what I like, and that's a super fluke rod. I do like to throw a super fluke, especially this time of year right now in the spring. You know, fish are garden beds and whatnot, and you throw a fluke around and get a pretty good bite on that. But once again, the 733C is a 1/4 to 3/4 ounce medium heavy fast action rod, Cinco, Fluke, Spook, spinnerbaits. It's what it's designed for. You know, you can see it handles dirty. It gets some good use. It's got a Revo SX on it also with a 6:4 to 1. I really like the 6:4 to 1 gear ratio in the reels. All right, well, that takes care of the spinnerbait, buzzbait, or buzzbait. I love topwater. The spinnerbait, chatterbait, and fluke section of the rods. So I think next we'll go into crankbaits. There's a good number of crankbait rods in there. A lot of different actions for a lot of different techniques. That will probably take a little bit to go through, because we're gonna go through everything from square billing all the way down to throwing them big, you know, 8, 10XD crankbaits. So I've got the rods to do all that. I do love crankbaiting. If you've watched any of my videos, you'll see that. I do a lot of crankbaiting. So thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the water.